back to the YouTube channel. I've missed you and I'm glad you're here. So I have not done a sit-down talking video in so long, and it's so unlike me because these are my favorite types of videos because I feel like we can just sit down one-on-one and get to know each other better and hang out and just spend quality time together. So we're back and I'm so excited. I'm here with Teddy and I'm also here with Norman, but he is currently underneath my sweatshirt. He loves to be under there because he gets cold, so it's his little warm, happy place. So I've recently kind of opened up more about my sobriety story over on my Instagram, and to be honest, I was so nervous to post that video just because it was something so raw, and I never thought that I would be sharing those videos with anyone. I mean, like, even my family and friends haven't seen those videos, so posting it online to millions of people wasn't really, I didn't think that was gonna happen. But I'm so glad that I did because the response was so overwhelmingly positive. But it was interesting to see how many people were going through a similar situation. So I wanted to sit down and film a little Q&A sobriety video, answering any kind of questions that you guys may have, and just kind of share my story a bit deeper because I can only really say so much on an Instagram post. So let's dive right into it. For those who didn't see my post, I will kind of just give a brief summary of my story, and then further in this video while answering questions, I'll kind of go deeper into, different parts of my story. But in summary, where do I start? In high school, I would drink occasionally. It wasn't anything crazy, just normal teenager activities. But it wasn't until I went to college in New York City where everything kind of took a turn. It was my very first time living alone away from family, and I had just gone through a breakup. So I was just in a completely foreign environment, alone in a new city, trying to fit in, make friends. So with all of that, that led to me going out with brand new groups of people. As a young freshman girl living in New York City, or I'm sure any other big city, you often get approached by these promoters, which are often older men, and they want to take you out to all these clubs and parties for free. And when you're young and dumb, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, let's go. So I would always be going to these different type of clubs and parties with people I didn't know. So this would be kind of happening every weekend. And throughout this time, I really started to struggle and kind of spiral with the whole breakup, learning how to be alone, dealing with guilt from it. Also, with just life feeling out of control, my eating disorder had kind of come back, and everything was just kind of a mess. So I started to lean on alcohol and going out and different substances to help me cope. So drinking on the weekends and going out with friends would turn into me drinking every night, drinking before doing my homework, drinking before going to class, drinking. I had to pregame everything I did because I just simply did not want to be sober and face the reality of kind of my life at that point. I didn't know this at the time, but in doing this made my life so much worse, and I was not helping the situation at all. So a few months pass, and one night I'm at a party in my apartment, and something happens to me that night. I haven't really gone into too much detail about it just because it was traumatic. That event kind of caused a whole domino effect in my life. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety, PTSD, derealization, depersonalization, and my life got kind of flipped upside down. So this is when I really started to rely on alcohol even more. This began affecting relationships with friends, family. I just felt completely alone, and alcohol was like my only escape at the time. I was constantly dealing with panic attacks. I couldn't leave my bedroom. I couldn't even watch TV sometimes because the derealization and stuff would just freak me out, and it's really hard to explain to somebody who hasn't gone through it. But if you have, I feel like you kind of know what I'm talking about. Just life doesn't feel real, and it's really, really scary. Soon after that, though, I did start therapy, which was the best decision I've ever made. I don't know where I would be today if I had never started therapy. Therapy helped me so much. I made so much mental progress over the next few months, and it was amazing. But I was still drinking, just drinking less, and my eating disorder was still pretty bad. It wasn't until the end of 2022, I remember it was December, I kind of just hit a rock bottom in my life. I feel like I was just so sick and tired of feeling the way I did, and I knew that there was something that I could do about it. So I was just like, why not create a New Year's resolution, prioritize my mental health, prioritize my physical health, because I was the weakest version of myself at this point, mentally and physically. So January 1st, I signed up for Planet Fitness. Mainly, they had like a tanning membership, so that was kind of like the main reason why I wanted to sign up, so I could use their tanning beds. But eventually, I started working out consistently at Planet Fitness, and 2 months into my fitness journey, I completely cut out alcohol. But this was not because I realized that I had a drinking problem. This was just because I knew that it would help my physical progress in the gym. It was just for like looks wise. I wanted to look the best I could look. My mindset the first month or two was not perfect. Let me point that out. I still was dealing with a lot of stuff. My mindset was not gonna flip like a switch overnight. It took a few months to kind of rewire my brain in the way I thought. I did end up cutting out alcohol cold turkey, and I have not drank ever since. And it has been just about 3 years now, in like a month or two, which is so crazy. The fact it's been 3 years, time flies. That's pretty much a summary of the situation. But now I'm going to go on my Instagram and look through some of the questions that you guys have asked me, and hopefully we can kind of dive a bit deeper, and hopefully I can help inspire one of you to start your sobriety journey, or just give some advice, and hopefully maybe you can learn something from my story. Do I go out and occasionally drink with friends? No, I do not. For some people, balance really works well, and I just feel like I'm not one of those people, to be honest. I know myself well enough that if I started drinking again, which honestly I don't even want to, but if I were to, like, it would just maybe be a slippery slope. I do not drink at all. I haven't drank for 3 years, and I have no desire to drink probably for the rest of my life, just because of everything that it has caused in my life. Alcohol just simply is not worth it, and I like being fully in control of my thoughts and my body, and I like being in control of my surroundings. So I have no desire to drink, and when I go out with friends who do drink, I just get a water, and it does not bother me. How do you avoid alcohol when most plans involve it? That was definitely something that was tricky while I was in college, because I feel like college culture is so heavily filled with alcohol and partying and different substances and going out, and it's really hard to make friends or socialize in a setting that doesn't involve any of that. I kind of distanced myself from my friends at the time, because your environment is everything, especially when you are like going cold turkey. I also kind of realized that my friends at the time weren't really close friends, but more of just drinking buddies. I didn't really know them that well outside of being drunk and drinking with them. So I started distancing myself from that friend group and surrounding myself with people who I knew would be a good influence on me. I made some new friends who also worked out at the time. I spent time with friends who didn't drink or go out, and it kind of taught me that not everything has to involve alcohol in a social setting, and you can actually do fun things with friends sober, which I felt like I couldn't do before. To sum it up, I would just say surround yourself with people who motivate you and inspire you to become a better version of yourself. Environment is key, and there are so many things to do that don't involve drinking and going out to bars. There's so much fun to be had while being sober. How do you deal with friends and people that tried to make you keep drinking? I've definitely experienced people, try to push me into drinking alcohol, and to be honest, at this point now, like, alcohol almost makes me anxious just because it brings up so much trauma in my life that it's easy enough for me to say no. Like I said earlier, your environment is key. You are who you surround yourself with, and I stand by that. Who did you reach out to help you become sober? Friends, family, etc.? ? Like I said, when I decided to become fully sober, it wasn't because I wanted help or realized that I had a problem. It was just to help my gains in the gym, which is kind of silly because a few months into my sobriety journey, I was able to look back and kind of reflect on my situation for what it was, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was not healthy, and I can't believe that I thought that that was normal, and I thought that that was a typical college student experience, because it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. I wish I would have reached out to friends and family, but I didn't, because like I said, I didn't realize that there was anything wrong. But if you feel like you do have a problem, please, please, please reach out to somebody. It's so good to have someone that you can trust in your corner, just there to support you. Sometimes sobriety journeys can feel lonely because you are distancing yourself from certain people, but just to have one person in your corner that's there to support you is so important. There's a lot of questions about how do I manage social settings when people are drinking around you. I feel like it was kind of tough the first 3 months because I was still kind of hanging around my old friend group, and they would be drinking, smoking, all of the above. So what helped me was distancing myself from those people. I realized that they weren't really my friends, and they were more drinking buddies. So it was kind of lonely, but I got to know myself a lot better, and I got to really put in the time to work on healing. And that's when I really started to kind of dial into my fitness journey. And I think I would much rather feel lonely for a few months until I find like better friends, rather than feeling lonely surrounded by my old like drinking buddies, because we really didn't know each other on a deep level. We were just there to drink together. So I was kind of lonely in both scenarios, but I would much rather be lonely and working on myself. Someone said you were under 21, right? How'd you get so much alcohol? I do remember when, I think this was my freshman year, and it was my very first Christmas break home. So it was the first time my family was seeing me since I had been at college. And it was such a shock to all of a sudden just not be drinking every single day. So I ended up stealing like some of their alcohol, and it was a lot. And that turned into a big thing. And like I said, like this whole thing affected family relationships and their trust towards me. I feel like when you're dealing with an addiction situation, it's easy to start lying to people that you love and having secrets and being sneaky. And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, because all I wanted was alcohol, man. I just did not want to be sober. I didn't care what I did to get it. And looking back, it is so bizarre, because now I literally can't tell a lie. Like, I'm the most like honest person now. So it was just kind of funny how addiction can change your personality without you even really realizing it in the moment. How has being sober affected your life? I guess, if I'm being so real, I think that if I never stopped drinking and I never started my fitness journey, genuinely, I don't even know if I would be alive. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, but the stuff that I was getting into and the people I would surround myself with in the activities and things that I would end up doing was just so dangerous, and I just didn't realize it at the time. But if I kept going for, what has it been, 3 years? If I was still doing that 3 years later, like genuinely, I don't know where I would be right now. Or just like the kind of person I would be. I don't even want to think about it. But starting my sobriety journey was the best decision I have ever made, because I felt like I was able to kind of rebuild my family relationships better, build that trust back. It helped me kind of love myself again, because during that time I hated who I was. And since being sober, I've been able to put the time and effort into accepting, loving who I am, and working on my mental health and getting myself to this point. What was the hardest thing you had to go through? I think there was one period of my life which was probably the hardest I've had to go through, and I kind of touched on it earlier during kind of the summary of my story. But to put it very PG, very lightly, while I was really in that bad time of my life, at a party, I was physically taken advantage of without consent, if you catch my drift. And it was not even as traumatic as that wasn't the worst part. It was what came after that, with friends and family either not believing me or blaming me, or feeling grossed out by me. There was so much that I went through completely alone, because I felt like everybody was against me. And it is kind of hard to talk about, because I haven't talked about it really much at all on social media, just because it's still like hits deep. But yeah, I think the hardest thing was just not feeling any love or support from people who I thought would be there for me. And I think that hurt the most. And that's really where that anxiety, PTSD, depersonalization, all of that stemmed from. Even till this day, like when someone's energy is off, like I automatically think like I've done something, and it gives me the most horrible anxiety. And it like brings me back to that moment in my life. And I think that was the hardest moment of my life, but it was the most transformative moment of my life, if that makes sense, because it just, like I said, it was a domino effect, and without all of that stuff happening, I wouldn't be who I am today. As much as it traumatized me and as much as it sucked, it made me stronger, and I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today if it hadn't happened. I would say one of my other lowest points was when I went home for Christmas break, like I mentioned, and like I was stealing my parents' alcohol, and it turned into a big thing. And it was just like, I can't remember exactly, because I had drank of it, but I remember my mom came into my room and we were having kind of a sit down chat about everything. I think just seeing the concern on her face and the concern that she had for me, and she was saying that, she was having to hide the alcohol from me now, and like, you could just see that trust was broken, and my mom's like my best friend, so seeing that was really, really tough. But like I said, yeah, just seeing people that you love get hurt by your actions, that was like the worst part. Still at that time, I did not realize that I had a problem. I was just like, she's just being crazy, like she just doesn't get it, like I'm in college, like I can do whatever I want, like I had that kind of mindset. But in reality, like, she saw that there was a problem long before I could see it. What was the moment where your mind said enough is enough? When I was mentioning, like, I hit that rock bottom period of my life in December of 2021, that was really when my eating disorder was at its worst. I guess this could be like, this whole video is a trigger warning, to be honest. But there was just one point where I remember I was like sitting on my apartment kitchen floor. I was trying to make dinner and I was too scared to eat 4 dino nuggets because in my head it was just like going to be the end of the world if I ate these 4 dino nuggets. And I just remember crying, and I remember looking at these like Instagram models and these other like successful models and just comparing myself to them, hating myself. I feel like ever since I was a kid, since I've always been tall and naturally slim, I've always been told, oh my gosh, you should model, like you're so tall, it'd be perfect. And I feel like hearing that always made me feel like I had to be thinner and I had to look like, you know, these models. So I was always constantly comparing myself to them. But yeah, it had just gotten to a point where I was just crying every day, hating myself every day, and I was just like, why am I putting myself through this? And this is when fitness content was starting to get really popular on TikTok. So I'd always see these girls working out and they'd be looking so good, so healthy. And I think that kind of inspired me to make a New Year's resolution for myself. How to realize if you have a real problem with alcohol. I feel like I didn't have an alcohol problem until I started drinking before like every single occasion in my life. Let me buy this bottle of vodka and drink it while I write my essay. Let's take some shots before I go to my English class because I have anxiety. The list goes on. Like, the amount of excuses that I made for myself to drink was crazy. Even just when I'm alone at night, I'm like, let's get some alcohol. Like, I don't want to be myself right now. It's like when you start using alcohol as an escape from your day-to-day life, that's when things, get not so good. I feel like I was able to answer most of the questions that I received, but always feel free to DM me. My DMs are always open. I love chatting with you guys. So always feel free to reach out. I feel like now I can talk about a few little life updates since we haven't really had the chance to sit down and catch up with each other in a while. I do have a coach now, which is huge for me. So I've been following a meal plan and a new workout plan. I'm finishing up one of my meals right now. I'm having some blueberries and a protein shake. This is the Rise Vanilla Peanut Butter flavor. I really like this flavor. I have this every single day. I am currently doing a lean bulk, and it's also the first time I've weighed myself in 3 years, like since I started my fitness journey. I'm only weighing myself once a week just to help my coach track how my progress is doing and be able to adjust macros and things in my meal plan if needed. But being able to track my weight is such a big step for me, considering I haven't been able to for the past 3 years, or haven't wanted to, because it used to be something that was so triggering to me. But now I can't wait to see the numbers go up because I just want to gain weight and gain muscle so bad. So it's nice that I'm finally in the right mindset to be doing all of this. There's so much happening behind the scenes right now, and I can't let you guys in on it yet, which is driving me nuts, by the way, because I tell you guys everything. So having to keep this secret is killing me. Like I said, I don't like lying to people, all right? But some very exciting things are happening and will be coming next year, so keep your eyes peeled. I know that the Gymshark Black Friday sale just ended, but there are some brand new things that have just released on the website, so if you're wanting to get any friends or family some gifts for Christmas, you can also use my Gymshark code Annabelle10 to save you 10% on your order. So that is the end of today's video. I really appreciate if you are still here watching. I love just sitting down and chatting with you guys. It's my favorite thing to do. But I hope you have a very happy holiday season and a great rest of your year. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!